The following podcast may contain adult language and a complete lack of salt. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, our 20th year anniversary retrospective review.
You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. We're talking The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, 20th Anniversary Edition. I'm joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds. Matt Vader's here.
Hi.
What is wrong with your head?
I'm trying to give you the same look that Sam gives Frodo.
Oh.
Does that thirsty come?
Don't, you're going to give me a chubby. Don't do
like,
that.
Oh, Frodo. God, I love you, man.
It's me, you're Sam.
Come give me a big kiss.
Dude, Clerks 2 has ruined their relationship for me. I can never look at them the same way. Fuck you, Kevin Smith.
It doesn't matter.
Judah's also here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
What's up?
I found myself being drawn with a duck face toward Vader's as he was giving you the eyeballs. I was like,
giving me the Samwise Gamgee.
like,
Is that a sex move? The Samwise Gamgee?
Gonna go cook some potatoes.
Potatoes.
He
likes it raw.
Yeah.
Give it to us raw and wiggling.
Speaking of Smeagol, Matt Gators is here.
So this is my favorite of the trilogy. I'm very excited to talk about this. I tend to like the middle chapters of trilogies more than the end cap or the beginning, because stuff just happens in the middle. And I feel like the Battle of Helms Deep is one of the greatest cinematic battles ever put on screen. And so I'm really excited to talk about this movie.
Yep.
meat and potatoes.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't wait to get into it. And before we do, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back, so stay tuned.
You're hopeless.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, before we get into Lord of the Rings, I want to remind you that you can support what we do here at the Salty Nerd Podcast by going to saltynerd.com/DC and downloading a mobile game called Dragon Champions. Really fun, easy to play mobile game on your phone or tablet or whatever you're using, where you get to collect your heroes and upgrade them and have a lot of fun. If you type in Salty in the promo code area, get a leg up on the competition. You get some extra characters, some extra mojo, and some jewels and gold and all kinds of cool stuff. And if you get to level 20 after typing in that promo code, you can join our Salty Nerd Podcast Guild, which is ran by one of our patrons, JT. A lot of fun. That community is super active on our Discord server. They're always talking about doing different raids and how to upgrade your characters properly to make sure you get the best bang for your buck. So head over there if you want full access to all the Dragon Champion stuff and help support us. Don't forget that promo code SALTY on the app, and have fun playing. We'll see you there.
I have breaking news.
What's breaking news?
In our chat, Broba just said JT recently hit level 80 in Dragon Champions.
Our Master Guild guy has reached level 80?
It's about time.
Well done.
Golf clap.
I'm not clapping for
You're
him.
not clapping for
Should
it?
have done it a month ago.
You're terrible. You're so mean.
Slow ass bitch.
He's the dad who's disappointed.
Should have made it faster.
Should have done it better. All right, Jude, take it away. The Two Towers.
2002, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours, 59 minutes. This had a budget of $94 million. Alex, what do you think this brought into the box office?
94 million? I think it brought in 500 million.
Okay. Vader?
Oh, probably $1 billion. How long?
Oh, 2 hours, 59 minutes.
That's not my version.
Yeah, I think you got like some interviews and extra credits.
I spent like 5 hours watching
So
this
there's the theatrical version,
Yeah.
there's the extended version,
Yeah.
and then there's the HBO Max special.
Whatever version this thing
whatever the
is.
fuck that was. It was 4.5 hours
It's
long.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Absurd.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do
Anyway.
you think it brought in?
I said 500 million.
I said $1 billion. I have
$1 billion?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's doubling my guess.
All right. This movie had a budget of $94 million with a box office of $947.9 million.
Yeah, these were big.
Yeah. Vader wins the
Huge.
speedboat this week.
Yeah, of course he does.
Yeah, I think it made like 500 million more than the Fellowship did. Well,
Fellowship was so freaking good.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
people
well,
showed up.
Well, everyone who liked Fellowship, they're like, yeah, I'm going to go see this. And plus, this movie, I think I told you guys about this, has one of the best movie trailers ever made in the history of cinema. Like, when you saw the trailer for this movie, like, even if you didn't see the first one,
Exactly.
you're like, I'm going to see this movie.
Yeah.
Like, they had this epic Clint Mansell version of Two Steps from Hell's Requiem song in the trailer. or it's like dun 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 dun, and it's just like it's kind of set almost like synthetic clubby like house music, and it's just like so epic.
There will be no dawn for men.
Like cutting in like these epic Lord of the Rings like images to like this music. Like by the end when Aragorn just comes like bossing his way into like, you know, Helms Deep, you're just like, yeah, I'm going to go see that movie right now.
Absolutely.
Great.
Iconic. Take it away, Jude.
Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Continuing with the quest to destroy the One Ring, the Fellowship is separated. Frodo and Sam travel alone toward Mordor under the watchful eye of Gollum, who covets the ring for himself. Merry and Pippin, after falling into the hands of the orcs, fall into the hands of the Ent and try to convince them that A, they're not orcs, and B, to lend their strength to the coming war. Gimli, Aragorn, and Legolas track the hobbits toward Rohan, where Sauron has control of the king. Grima, advisor to King Theoden, banishes Éomer to the Riddermark outside of the kingdom, where he meets Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn. Éomer tells the trio that everyone in the company of the orcs were slaughtered and bids them luck, but warns that hope has left these lands. The trio follows the tracks of the hobbits into Fangorn Forest, where they reunite with a new and improved Gandalf the White, who was sent back at the turn of the tide to complete his task. The group travels to Rohan for an audience with the king, where Gandalf expels the Saruman demon from Theoden. Eowyn takes one look at Aragorn and her lady parts explode. Theoden, having just woken up from his demon possession, doesn't want to bring war and death to his people and orders them to flee to Helm's Deep, but the war comes to them there. At the last moment, the elves arrive to join forces with man against the forces of evil. If they can last until first light on the morning of the 5th day, they need only look to the east and see salvation and Carl Urban coming to make their final stand against the orcs. Discuss.
All right.
That was interesting. Listening to you get those names all out there. Like
Oh
that.
man,
I know.
I had to practice it a lot
Yeah,
this
yeah.
week because I like it. If you're just a book reader, you have read this as Eomer, not Éomer.
Aramir.
Yeah. And
or Theoden.
Yeah, it's
King Theoden.
Saruman
Yeah.
and Theoden and Riddermark and yeah.
Yeah.
Grandma Wormtongue.
Grima.
Grima.
You're not born a guy named Grima Wormtongue with much hope that you're going to be a good
I've
person.
always
Yeah.
said Grima.
Grima?
Yeah.
Yeah, not Grima.
Yeah.
Grimy Wormtongue.
Yeah.
Put your forked tongue behind your teeth. And not suffer the fool. Fucking love Gandalf. Okay.
You've shadowed my sister's steps too long.
Yeah. So for the longest time, this has been my least favorite of the 3 movies.
Really?
Yeah. For growing up, I always thought this was like, I loved Helm's Deep. The battle was amazing, but the rest of the movie was like a freaking slog for me, especially with the Ents.
Okay.
Upon this watch,
I love the ends.
I know. Yeah, upon this watch, my opinion has completely changed.
Oh, that's
This
so
movie's
cool.
freaking awesome. Like, I used to really get like bored with the Ents and Pippin and Merry. Like, oh, we don't do anything
I'm going to
that
get one.
doesn't take a long time to say. Like, that shit used to drive me insane. I'm like, can we get back to Helm's Deep, please? But like now, I understand like the setup and payoff a little bit more, and like having that like that constant like, God damn it, can we just like feeling like Merry and Pippin, and then that payoff when they actually go to what the Ents have chosen violence, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like freaking out. I love it so much more though.
And I love it too. I love the Ents. They
Yeah.
might be one of my favorite characters in this whole trilogy.
Yeah.
Because I love how they're like, we've been around for forever,
Yeah.
and you seem like tiny orcs.
Yeah, this is
it's so
orc magic.
I love it.
We've
I
come
love
to
it.
the conclusion that you're not orcs.
And they're like, yeah,
No shit.
what about the war? And they're like, oh, well, we
Well.
haven't started talking about the war.
Yeah. And I love how much personality they all have. And he's like, oak, peach, ash, welcome to the party. And I'm like, they're all named after the tree. And when they go to war, and we're skipping way ahead, but anyway, it doesn't
some
matter.
of these
Doesn't
matter.
trees were my friends.
Yeah, when they go to war and they're in there, and then my favorite bit about the war at Isengard is one of the ants gets Ents, gets caught on fire. Like they shoot fire arrows at him, and he's all running around like, ah, shit. When they break the dam and the water comes out, he runs in and dunks his head in. I love it. It's so funny.
I love it.
Yeah, it's that one ant who's like on fire, and he's like, "Oh, thank God, water!"
You can hear that.
Yeah. It's so funny, dude. I wanted to get that out of the way. I didn't want to forget about the ads, but there's so much to talk about with this show or this movie. But I actually have a thought upon this rewatch, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I wrote down notes because I was very frustrated.
You kind of need to if we're going to talk about this.
King Theoden, right? Okay, so he's been taken over by Saruman. And it's not his.
Possessed.
Most of this shit's not his fault. But after Gandalf like frees him of the spell, this guy's kind of the worst king ever, and it was very frustrating for me watching him. He's terrible. He has to be convinced to take action. So they get there, they save him. They're like, "You're no longer under his control. Now you're with us. Here's what's happening. This is what we need to do." And he's like, "No, I don't think I will." And he's like, "We're gonna go hide. We're gonna go to Helms Deep and hide. Fuck the rest of the world. I got to do what's right by me."
I mean, so that's what the Ents wanted to do too.
Yeah. And then he goes to Helms Deep, and he's like sitting in the cheap seats the whole time. He's just sitting up there on his little tower, and he's like, "Is that all you have, Saruman?" And then the shit blows up, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming." Like, it's like, bro, come on, man. And then immediately he's like, "The war is lost. We can't win." The only time he goes in to fight, he gets hurt in like the first 10 seconds. And then he's like, "I gotta go. Sorry, guys. Good luck with the door. I'll see you around." And then he goes back and he cries in his freaking chambers. And Aragorn has to walk up to him like, "Bro, what are you doing? We need to do shit now." And he's like,
dawn is coming.
He's like, "The day is lost. We just might as well accept our fates." It was so frustrating. Like every step of the way, these people had to like push him to make shit happen, and it was very frustrating.
And he
I'm
makes up for it later.
curious if any of us have read the books. I have not.
Oh yeah,
I
read the
have
books.
listened to the books. Does that count?
Yeah, same
Cool.
thing.
Yeah.
As an audiobook narrator, yes.
I refused to watch these movies initially without doing a read through of each book before the movie came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to compare and contrast the two.
I admittedly,
it's been a long time though. I probably need to reread it.
Yeah, I admittedly don't remember much from the books. It was a long time ago I listened to them.
I remember I had
tried to read these, and I don't think I got past the first chapter.
They're
It's a hard read.
I had to read each page like 3 times.
Yeah.
No lie. I'm a terrible reader anyway, but yeah. So I've read them 3 times.
I'm currently reading The Hobbit right now.
Okay.
I freaking love it. It's great. It's very long-winded, but that's kind of what I like about it.
I'm just really glad we got to rewatch this for this show because it helped get the stink of that new television show on Amazon out of my brain.
I was going to say it's interesting watching the Peter Jackson movies after watching The Rings of Power, because we watched all 8 episodes of it. We reviewed it on our channel. But what's interesting is that there are certain liberties that Peter Jackson takes with the books. Like for instance, the elves showing up at Helm's Deep. In the books, the elves are kind of like fighting their own battles against the forces of darkness in their homelands. So they're not actually at the Battle of Helm's Deep. But Peter Jackson basically decided, just for brevity's sake, we're going to combine these 2 stories. We're going to have the elves show up at Helm's Deep, and like they're going to fight side by side with men and all this other stuff. And like that is a big liberty taken from the books, but it works within the context of the film. Whereas if you look at the creative choices that were made in The Rings of Power, they feel almost like anti-Tolkien. They feel like very kind of like hackneyed and tacked on and not very well thought out. And so like it's just interesting to see like how the difference in the adaptation with Peter Jackson, because he does a lot of stuff in like voiceover, for instance, where like he creates a montage as like people are talking about what's happening, that kind of condenses a lot of information into a visually interesting like small amount of time. And then like the big changes that he makes, like for instance in the Two Towers book, that was the book that Boromir, Sean Bean's character dies, and also the spider Shiloh appears, and Shelob, however you pronounce it, and he decided to move that to the 3rd movie and Boromir's death to the 1st movie, and so like he made all these changes right in the adaptation, but it still feels authentically Tolkien. Like everything in this movie feels like Tolkien, whereas with The Rings of Power, so much of it feels like fan fiction version of Tolkien, which isn't right.
Well, when a filmmaker honors the source instead of tries to change it, there's a difference.
And how they change it matters too.
Peter Jackson was, he was a Tolkien loyalist. He just wanted to put those books in a movie. He wanted the fans to have something that they could love for as long as these movies hold up. And that's what he did, and that's why we're still gushing over them now 20 years later.
And what's really interesting about it is, like, so in this movie we see the actual fight between Gandalf and the Balrog, right? We see what happens after Gandalf falls off that cliff in Khazad-dûm, or the Mines of Moria.
Yeah, there you go.
It was Khazad-dûm and the Rings of Power, like, that's not something I think that we get in the books, is the actual like fight. We actually get to see like how that plays out. And we get to see like stuff that as fans we've wanted to see for a long time in these books. For instance, he pulls something from the appendices where we see Arwen, Liv Tyler's character, and we see like the death of Aragorn and like how she like wanders the land like after he dies, heartbroken and alone. And that was something that wasn't in the books, but it was kind of mentioned in Tolkien's appendices and notes that Peter Jackson basically pulled in order to give Arwen like a little bit more of a role in the movie and stuff like that. And if you look at Rings of Power, which is based almost entirely on appendice material, the difference in how they interpret it is so stark, where like, I can't say enough bad things about the Rings of Power.
Yeah, can we not talk about Rings of Power anymore? Can we talk about Two Towers? That's what I'd rather talk about. Let's focus on Christopher Lee for a minute. That dude can do no wrong. His monologues and his like, it's time to go to war. He's up on the tower with Worm Tongue or whatever. Did you guys notice that scene where he's like making the bomb, right? He's pouring the stuff in there, and then Wormtongue walks over with a freaking candle and is like, "Oh, what are you doing over here, boss?" And he's like, "Get away,
Wormtongue's a
moron." Christopher Lee's amazing in this movie. I do feel like he kind of got nerfed a little bit. Like when the Ents came and like destroyed Isengard, and he's like just up there in his tower. I'm like, is he not going to do anything? Like you're not going to be like wave your wand around and blow some shit up or something like that. Like I feel like they kind of nerfed him for that ending to kind of pay off the Ents, but I don't know. I wanted more.
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered that too. So doesn't he have like some fireball spells?
Something,
ratchet in that wand or something, and that staff of his.
Yeah,
something they can do. Yeah, I get it.
He just kind of got stuck up there. I think he was so focused on his goal that he didn't really he didn't think about the Ents. And they mentioned that too. They're like, a wizard should know better. How dare he do this? Like,
I told you to take the wizard's staff.
Oh, you want to talk about that scene? Yeah. I freaking love that scene. There's a meme. I don't know if it's a meme or whatever, but it's like a spoof on this scene where they walk up and they're like, I cannot let you see the king so heavily armed, Aragorn. You must, release your weapons. And the whole crew, like I got Gimli, got Legolas and Aragorn, and they're all just freaking like pulling knives out of their ass and freaking throwing things. And they have a table.
Like the ninja throwing stars.
Yeah, they just keep putting shit down. That shit was so funny. But yeah, that scene where we get the revelation that Gandalf has like really upgraded. Like we kind of like, oh, he's Gandalf the White now. That's
leveled up. Yeah.
He definitely leveled up for sure. And we don't see that really in action until he goes up against Saruman, which he lost the fight to in the first movie. And now this one, he's like, you have no power here, Gandalf the Grey. Throws his freaking robes off. It's like, bitch, what? Gets him with his staff.
And it's great when they're walking in because he's like, oh, you wouldn't deny an old man his walking staff, would you? And then he gives like a real subtle wink to Aragorn.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just
an old man.
I'm just an old man, harmless old man. And he's like, wink, wink. It's funny, right? And Aragorn's like, bro,
stop it, man. Stop. You're gonna give us away. It's just so funny. Vader mentioned something though. You said he upgraded in power, but he downgraded his beard.
Yeah, his beard's shorter.
His beard's way shorter.
It's very disappointing.
Leave it to Vader to notice.
I know. Yeah, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, you're right. Like Gandalf the Grey, his beard went down to his belt. Like that dude had a beard. And this guy, he's trimmed it up a
Went
little
to-
bit.
went
He's lived
went to the barbershop.
300 lives of men in the last 14 days.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
Aomer.
Aomer? Take it away. Carl Urban.
He's so hot.
Is there a massive franchise that Carl Urban hasn't been a part of?
Harry Potter.
Star Wars.
No, he was a
No.
stormtrooper.
Was he?
Yeah, he played a stormtrooper.
Okay.
But does that count? Hasn't everybody in Hollywood played a stormtrooper?
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't yet.
Carl Urban is awesome in this movie.
Yeah,
He's great.
yeah.
Yeah, this was one of his early roles.
It
too.
was, yeah.
That's it?
Okay.
All right.
So there are a couple things I want to mention about the making of this movie. So first of all, the big thing is Gollum. At the time, the only other fully CGI character in a movie was Jar Jar Binks from The Phantom Menace. And when originally Weta, who was the special effects company that did all the special effects for Lord of the Rings, it was Peter Jackson company that he started specifically for this trilogy. They had kind of CGI models for Gollum that they were going to use for this movie. They'd spent like years working on them. And at the last minute, Peter Jackson basically cast Andy Serkis, and he decided that he was going to use Andy's actual like performance in the filming of the movie in order to kind of like, make Gollum like more of a character and
You can
interact.
tell every one of Gollum's facial expressions are Andy Serkis's facial expressions.
Yeah, and it was a last minute thing because when they started shooting, Andy Serkis hadn't been cast as Gollum, and they were just going to do it as like a voice acting CGI thing. But when they were auditioning for the voice acting, like Andy Serkis would come in and he'd have all these movements, and Peter Jackson's like, this guy gets what I'm going for. And so like he actually put him in a motion capture outfit. And so like he would be on set kind of interacting with the actors, and they would actually do this thing where like they would shoot him doing the mocap stuff, and then they would reshoot the scene like mimicking all the camera moves like without it. So like, they had like a plate to work against with the special effects. And basically all of Weta had to scramble at the last minute to change all like the special effects they had planned for Gollum, because now they were having to kind of make it more Andy Serkis like.
Yeah.
And when this movie came out, it was like a big deal to see like such a fully articulated CGI character that not only like looked realistic on screen, but also had such an iconic performance. I think some magazine voted the word precious as like one of the most quoted lines from like any movie ever made and stuff like that. And that was all Andy Serkis and his doing. But Gollum was quickly like a standout for this movie because he wasn't in the first one.
Yeah, and it holds up.
Yeah, that's what I was amazed at that. I really wasn't expecting it to hold up as well as it did. And we were watching this together on the watch party in Discord, and I was like, man, the freaking Gollum, like they got the shading down. They got because like skin is really difficult to do because it's a little bit translucent. So if you have light coming from some direction, you can kind of like see through the skin a little bit. It has like a peachy color to it. Like they did amazing with the
even
shadows
got, like,
and water.
the moisture on his skin, and like the tears in his eyes, and like the twinkle in his eyes.
Yeah.
And when he's like hopeful, you see it. When he's like, they've betrayed us,
Dude,
you see it.
That scene when Smeagol like banishes Gollum, because there's two different characters, right? And like Andy's
now.
yeah, he's like, leave now and never return. He's so freaking expressive. Like Andy Serkis's performance is amazing in that scene. It's so great.
As we were talking, I just bought the Andy Serkis audiobook. I hope that was the right one.
And
I know there's two versions, so I went with Andy Serkis.
That's a good bet.
It's funny, when they were in the midst of post-production for this movie, New Line Cinema didn't believe that Weta could actually like deliver a realistic looking Gollum. And so they went behind Peter Jackson's back and commissioned ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, to start working on this.
Oh my God.
Just as a backup to because they didn't think that Weta was going to deliver. And then once Weta found out about that they were like, oh, it's on. And so like they doubled down to make sure that they're like, we're going to fuck these ILM guys up.
Oh, that's amazing.
It is a shitty thing to do, but if you look at it from like, I'm curious, like the studio's perspective, I don't think you're gonna be able to do this with these people. Yeah. We're gonna hire the guys who do Star Wars as a backup plan. It's not a bad backup
We're
plan.
talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
Jar Jar Binks doesn't hold up.
No,
He doesn't.
He doesn't hold up now.
But that was
Jar Jar
Gollum
Binks didn't
holds
hold
up.
up a year after it came out. Everybody was like, yeah, that was totally for kids, and you can tell.
Well-
Gollum looks like a character that you can invest in.
Well, that's the character though. That's like the writing and the dialogue and all. That's like
It's
Tolkien.
the acting
It's,
too.
yeah, but it's Tolkien versus George Lucas. I mean,
He may have gone too far. Yeah.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
So there, part of the early kind of like broken fellowship storyline is that you have Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas kind of like trying to rescue Merry and Pippin. And so like they're tracking these orcs, across the plains. And there's a scene where like, after they run into the Rohan warriors, they go and they find where the battle took place. And there's a scene where Aragorn kicks this orc helmet
yes.
in frustration, and he screams out, and it's like this very powerful scene because like he's lost his friends, and he failed to rescue them, and he believes they're dead. And what actually happened was Viggo Mortensen kicks this metal helmet, breaks 2 of his toes when he kicks it, and that scream was actually his scream in pain.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't
How did you not know that?
I don't know.
I thought everybody, like, the joke is...
Yeah, everybody knows
It's all
this.
you know what. Every time somebody gets injured on the set of this trilogy, it's always Viggo.
Yeah.
He fucked himself up with his sword the last movie.
So what's funny is like Peter Jackson thought that it was such a authentic reaction that was the thing that made it into the movie, that scene. So like when you see that scene, he'd just broken his toes, and then like he completed the shooting of the scene, but then immediately got medical attention.
Yeah.
But all the scenes were basically you have Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli running. It was Jonathan Rhys Meyers' like dwarf double. They're all injured. So Viggo has his broken toes. Legolas, the actor who plays
Orlando Bloom,
he had fallen off his horse and broken 2 of his ribs.
Oh my God.
And the stand-in, the dwarf stand-in for Jonathan Rhys Meyers, or that's probably the wrong name. Gimli.
Yeah.
The stand-in for Gimli, also Rhys Meyers, thank you. Also had like a leg injury of some type.
Did he lose a shoe in that scene and they left it in?
Something like that. I think that was actually in Helms
Lose a
Deep.
shoe.
But so like all the scenes where like they're running across the plains and stuff like that, every single actor is injured, and basically as soon as like Peter Jackson called cut on those scenes, you'd have them all stop.
They'd all be like, "Ow! Oh God! Oh God! I'm dying! I'm dying!" Those scenes are so funny though, because like you get Legolas, who's an elf. He's just like built for this, running. He's very lightweight. He's very able to move around and stuff like that. Aragorn is a Numenorian human. He's 80 something years old. He's got superhuman strength and all this shit from his bloodline. And then you got Gimli.
Poor Gimli.
Poor Gimli. He's just
Gimli can do anything. They were
us
the
dwarves.
First, they were the first sprinters.
Us dwarves are natural sprinters, very dangerous over short distances.
And you only think that there aren't women dwarves, but it's just because the women also have beards.
Yeah. That whole line is like the basis for what people have an issue with Rings of Power over, because he's like, it's the beards. They can't tell the difference because of the beards. And then the freaking Rings of Power movie, they're all like just normal chicks. It's a weird thing, but oh man, I had so much fun.
Stop talking about that show.
Yeah, I hate that show. I've never even seen it and I hate it. What else?
Forever we'll be comparing the two.
Well, they set themselves up for failure.
5 more years of that shit coming up, bro.
So let's talk about Helms Deep, which is my favorite section of this movie.
So there's a line during this part where King Theoden is at his little cheap seats and he's sitting there and it starts to rain. And then the one dude like lets the arrow loose by accident. He's like, and so it begins. That line is so freaking iconic. When I first saw this movie, every time from that point forward, I was about to do something that I know I had to do, but I didn't want to do it. I say, so it begins. I did it for the first year of like sophomore in high school.
Of course you do.
I do it for anytime I'm like,
he does it right before we start the podcast.
Right. So it begins. It's like it's a necessity. I have to do it, but I don't want to. I hate it. It's gonna suck.
We all cut ourselves in the palm and shake hands with each other. We're like, so it begins.
Every
Tuesday.
I love that freaking scene. It's so funny. It makes me laugh now because I do it all the time, but it's iconic. That whole the miniature set that they were used when they do like the flyovers, and then the armor that all the extras have on, where they're all like legitimately like fully armored up. Amazing.
Yeah. So when the Uruk-hai show up, the 10,000 strong army from Isengard, the orcs all get together and they start doing this chant.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to record that chant, Peter Jackson went to a cricket match with like 15,000 people in the stands, and they put the words that they wanted them to chant up on like the Jumbotron. And Peter Jackson got up there and led them in the chant. And so they recorded that, and that's what that's the sound of the orcs chanting in the movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was like a real 15,000 person stadium of like people saying like this orc chant.
Oh my God, that just made my butthole clench, but in a good way.
Can you imagine being there, like in the stadium, like shouting Uruk-hai? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And you know, it took them 4 months to shoot the Helms Deep battle, and it was like 3 months of night shooting and 1 month of like shooting during the day. Yeah. And it looks gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of the interesting things, like lately, we've been watching a lot of stuff that's been doing day for night.
Yeah.
Like House of the Dragon, for instance, where basically they shoot during the day and then they post-process it to look like it's at night. And you can always tell when something's actually shot at night and lit properly, so like you can see it. And this whole scene, the Battle of Helm's Deep, is like night shooting. And it's lit so perfectly, like you can actually see stuff, but it still feels like it's at night. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this has almost become a lost art in Hollywood. Like they don't know how to shoot stuff at night anymore. It's weird.
And I think one of the coolest things about this trilogy is that when Peter Jackson like took on this 3-movie project, like there wasn't a lot of faith behind him. He wasn't Peter Jackson yet. He was just some guy that wanted to make Lord of the Rings, and the studio took a chance on him.
He was an obscure New Zealand horror filmmaker.
Yeah, he was like an indie artist.
And what didn't the studio originally want him to just do one movie? And
well, originally it was at Miramax, and they were going to do 2 movies for the trilogy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so like they were like, get this down into 2 movies, and he was like, no, screw you.
Yeah,
we actually talked about that in our retrospective
for the first one.
Yeah, but didn't he say like, I'm going to do all 3, but I can do it for this budget? So like when I say the budget, the budget for this was 94 million, that's just whatever the budget of 3 movies was divided by 3, because he came back and was like, I'm going to do all 3 for $1 amount.
Well, they shot all 3 movies at the same time.
These actors all moved to New Zealand for
months and months.
Years.
Was it years?
They all committed to this project for years.
That's crazy. It's awesome. New Zealand is gorgeous though. Every time they do an overhead shot where they're like people are traveling, I'm just like, I want to go there.
Yeah.
I think they have a whole tourist industry over there because of that.
Middle Earth, New Zealand.
And like a lot of movies, you don't realize it, but a lot of movies have come out of New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Like and not just like since then, but like from like the late 80s through now, like New Zealand is pumping out some movies.
What's the best scene in the Helm's Deep battle? I always love the scene where Legolas is right there. Aragorn sees the dude with the torch running through the middle, and he's like, kill him! He's like shouting at him in Elvish, and Legolas is like hitting him with these freaking arrows, and he just doesn't hit. Like that was like the
berserker orc.
That was such a freaking cool scene.
Every time Aragorn speaks in Elvish, it does.
Women everywhere swoon.
It does like a tingle thing in my heart, and I'm like, when I first saw this in Éowyn, like you can see the love connection between Aragorn and Éowyn, mm-hmm. and like I said, I haven't read the books yet, so I'm not sure like what all that is in the books, but you can see it in the movies that she is deeply enamored with him, and there's something about her that he's drawn to as well, and then. Like Liv Tyler comes in and is like, I see you flirting with that bitch.
Oh yeah, dude. The king's niece or whatever. What's her name again? Éowyn. Éowyn, dude. She is trying to move in on Aragorn. Yeah. The entire movie.
She's not completely unreciprocated though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit. There's might be some chemistry there, but like she's like, oh, who gave you that necklace? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, it was my ex-girlfriend. She's
where is she?
Yeah,
because I'm right here.
What's she doing? Because
Well,
not for nothing, but like Grima really wants me.
What's funny is Miranda Otto, who plays that character. So like when she showed up on set, she was kind of like a late casting choice.
Yeah.
Because I think their first choice for that character fell through. So she came on late as like, you know, shooting had already begun. And so the first day she meets Viggo Mortensen, she's like, it's not going to be hard to act like I'm falling in love.
Right?
Yeah.
He's an attractive man.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it was a funny thing for me watching her like try to move in on Aragorn, and I'm just like, yeah, that's
But when she thinks he's dead,
oh yeah,
and then when he's not, she's like, oh shit, he doesn't love me.
yeah,
I really felt for her.
no,
But it's
barking up the wrong tree.
It's kind of funny because like you have like these Uruk-hai orcs, right? And basically they only had a certain number of actors for the orcs who were like, you know, really tall, like 7 feet plus. And so in order to kind of fill out, you know, the orc army, they had to get people who were like of normal size and like have them stand on boxes and stuff like that and look like, you know, these big orcs. And their nickname for them were Uruk-lows instead of Uruk-hais.
Wikipedia.
But it's a very interesting sequence, you know, in the battle. Like I love the scene where like, you know, they break the wall by like blowing it up. It's such a cinematic scene, like just seeing those huge blocks of stone like just like get thrown into the air. And the increasing like dread of like they're going to lose this battle, and then like the triumphant last stand where they go basically riding out into like the
for death and glory.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
bitch, you gave up 10 minutes ago.
but it's
He's
all
only a man.
it's all very like epic and romantic in the sense of like, you know, like they used to call these things like romances and stuff like that. And then like when you see Gandalf on that hill and he's on Shadowfax and like, you know, it's like, you know, rearing up. And then him and Carl Urban are like, you know, to battle, and like they go charging down that hill,
And the sunlight's right behind him. Yeah.
and in that
Gandalf
scene,
flashes all the orcs on the way down.
in that scene, basically the actors playing the orcs, their spears are made of cardboard, so like they're not actually in danger of like stabbing the horses as they're.
Well, I'm glad they did that.
Yeah.
Real quick, because it's on the screen, and I remember the
The new and improved version of Gandalf?
well, it's not. We didn't know it was Gandalf at first. All they heard was like, "Oh, the White Wizard," and like
and they think it's Saruman.
Initially,
Yeah.
the White Wizard is Saruman.
Yeah.
Like that's the White Wizard,
And they even make him look a little bit like him.
they do. I think what they did. I don't know if Kadish can confirm this or not, but I think they did the scene with both Christopher Lee and then Ian McKellen, and then they like. They put it because you can tell when you're looking at him, if you can like see through the glare, you're like, that's Christopher Lee's face, and it's his voice. And then it starts to mesh, and you get Ian McKellen's accent in there a little bit more. And then when it's finally revealed, it's Ian McKellen. I'm like, I bet you they did both scenes with both characters and just like mixed them together.
Sure.
Kadish, can
is
you
that
confirm?
confirmed?
So they overlaid Christopher Lee's voice on top of Ian McKellen's to make it, you know, kind of oscillate, so it sounds like both Gandalf and Saruman. They actually did a digital map of Christopher Lee's face, and they kind of overlaid it on Ian McKellen's face.
Make it ambiguous.
Yeah.
To make it ambiguous at first. So, you know, it was kind of a mixture of the two actors' faces. And then once the light clears up, and it's obviously Gandalf. But like, it's kind of funny because they gave that reveal away in the trailers.
Yeah. you sent that trailer to us, and you're like, this is the best trailer ever. And I was like, they gave away the twist.
Right. Yeah.
Like, who does that in the trailer?
It wasn't a twist if you read the books, and those books are
Right.
like, you know, pretty old.
Pretty old.
Yeah, but it's for general audiences.
I'm excited to listen to the audiobook. I'm really looking forward to it now.
I haven't listened to one who was narrated by Andy Serkis. I have the old ones. I think.
It's funny. Andy Serkis had this thing called Gollum juice that he would drink like constantly because, you know, doing that,
Yeah.
that Gollum voice, which he
bet.
based off of a cat hacking up a hairball. Right? Like that was his inspiration for it.
Yeah, it's described that way in The Hobbit, where he's like, the reason why they call him Gollum is because of the noise he makes when he freaking hacks up a loogie.
Yeah.
And so like this Gollum juice was like, you know, lemon and honey and like
Sure.
stuff like that because he had
Ginger,
to
probably.
keep his throat lubed because like he was doing that voice so often.
I can imagine.
I too have had some Gollum juice.
Let's see. There's another scene that really stands out to me is the marshes, the dead marsh, I think they called it. And this that still.
What is it? What does he say? Don't look into the light.
don't
The dead
look into-
light. Dead lights.
It's they're lights. If you look into the lights, they'll draw you in. That scene to this day, that scene freaks me
Pretty
the hell
creepy.
out. Yeah, when Frodo's like just kind of like dazed out, he falls into the marsh, and then he's up there, and he's surrounded by all the ghosts, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
and it's
shit.
Gollum who saves him, not Sam.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Sam, let's be honest, that dude'd be dead.
You don't know your Sam?
No, Sam is the true hero. Frodo's just.
I've always found the Sam and Frodo stuff through these movies kind of my least favorite part.
Really?
Yeah, they're boring.
Well, it's because they're just walking.
They're just walking.
Because being friends with a dude is not interesting to you?
No, they don't do a lot but walk and interact with.
That's the Kevin Smith take.
Yeah. They're right. He's right.
Oh yeah.
They don't do a lot.
Just walk from point A to point B and get caught by a bunch of people.
Sit there and look longingly into each other's eyes and get rescued by the dude a lot.
Well,
I can't remember his name.
What's interesting?
Gollum.
What's interesting is that so in this book, in this movie, another variation from the book is the storyline with Faramir. Because like in the books, Faramir, like he's so, upright and noble that like he's not tempted by the ring, and like they send him on his way. But Peter Jackson's like, wait a minute, men have to be tempted by the ring, and so they added this whole part. And in fact, there's a line where Sam says like, "We're not supposed to be here, Mr. Frodo," and that was kind of like a meta joke in the sense that like Sam and Frodo never went to that city that was like under siege in the books. And so like that was kind of like a nod to the audience. It's like, yeah, we know we're taking some liberties here, but like we feel it makes for a better movie type thing. Yeah. And the actor they got to play Faramir was also like really good. And
it looks a lot like Sean Bean.
Yeah. That was a big reason why he was cast actually. And it was kind of funny to actually get to see an arc for him where like at first he is tempted by the ring, and then it's like Frodo's like suffering and Sam's speech where he realizes like, oh, like this is what killed my brother.
In the super extra duper long
HBO Max extended cut.
HBO Max extended cut, they actually give him an arc. Boromir comes back. Sean Bean is in this movie for about 20 minutes.
In like a flashback?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They develop their relationship between the brothers and their dad, the king, or the king regent, or whatever. Yeah. And about how Faramir is basically just the secondary piece of shit son who can't do anything
that
right.
comes up in the third movie.
Yeah, and they really expand on this. It's at least a 15-minute segment that they put back in this movie. It's really interesting.
That's cool. I'll have to check that out.
I might just watch that scene.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch.
Not gonna watch 4.5 hours. Come on.
Listen, you know my rule. I don't watch things that are over 2 hours unless they're Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Denethor. Steward.
I think they said that like if you were to watch the extended versions of all three of these movies, it would take you around 11 hours.
Jesus.
It's not bad.
Oh yeah. I mean, but these things on HBO right now, they're extended.
Yeah.
I own the extended versions. They're like 3.5 hours long. These are like 4.5 hours.
There's
long.
a new version we didn't even know about. Yeah. And when I was watching it with you, I was like, wait a minute.
The Return of the King is 4 hours and 55 minutes. It's bonkers. It's like
5 hours.
What are they at?
Never gonna watch that.
Yeah. No? I'm gonna. I couldn't watch this one without watching Fellowship.
20 minutes of it's credits.
Okay, well.
But still.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So,
I wonder if they did that just to F with Amazon.
Maybe. I don't know.
I enjoyed it.
It must be new because I've never seen them before.
What did you guys think of the ongoing bromance between Gimli and Legolas?
Oh, it's great.
That's amazing. Dude, that's in Helms Deep when they're like, I've got two already. And he's like, I'm on 17. And he's like, no pointy-eared dwarf's going to beat me.
It reminds me of Baba Voss and Ranger.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, also there's that great scene where Aragorn and Gimli have to go and distract the orcs from bringing down the gate.
Yeah.
And Gimli's like, toss me. And he's like, but
don't tell the elf.
Don't tell the elf.
Don't tell the elf.
Because in the first movie, he's like, nobody tosses a dwarf, and he jumps off the little broken bridge.
I personally just really enjoy that relationship throughout this entire trilogy.
Because they start out pretty antagonistic towards each other.
Well, elves and dwarves don't like each other.
Yeah.
Period. And, so to see them develop that relationship is fun.
Yeah.
And it really like gets put into gear with the Helms Deep battle.
Dude, that boss level move that Legolas does where he like throws the shield down, like skates down the stairs as he's killing to go rescue Gimli.
I always thought that was dumb.
What?
That was my least favorite part
that's
of
like-
the movie.
Oh, come on.
I don't need that video game bullshit.
It reminded me of like
in
something
these-
out of Teenage Mutant
That was
Ninja
actually
Turtles.
from the books.
Yeah, I don't care. It
I
looks
figured it
sacrilege.
was.
Sacrilege.
Except instead of a shield, it was a bowl.
I don't need that Tony Hawk bullshit. Get out of here.
Tony Hawk bullshit. I don't know. I had fun with that scene. I like it. I like all that stuff. But Helms Deep is definitely the highlight for this movie for me. But the ants, that payoff, I don't know what it is about this time around, but I used to never like the ants. I always ants. I was like, it's the boringest part of this movie. Whatever. I don't want to watch it. And this time around, I was just like, this is freaking awesome.
Okay, so we reviewed the Fellowship of the Ring a year ago, and as soon as we finished that movie, I was like, I forgot how good this movie is and how much I enjoyed it because it's so long, and I don't commit to long movies. And so for a year, I've been like, can we watch the next one? Can we watch the next one? And Katie's just been like, no, you have to wait.
What?
You have to have his permission to watch a movie?
Well, because I'm not going to watch it more than once a year. That's just, that's just me.
Oh, no. I fully expect, I watched Fellowship and then I watched The Two Towers.
Yeah.
And this week, I'm probably going to watch The Return of the King.
These things
Can
are
I
on
come over?
all the time.
Because leading up to this, I've been so excited. Every day this week, I was like, can we watch it tonight? Can we watch it tonight? So then we watched it, and I just it's so enjoyable. I watched it for enjoyment, and then I had to play it yesterday just to do my synopsis to get through all of the major points. And I know I left shit out, but I didn't want to have a 15-minute long synopsis.
Yeah.
So I need to ask you guys, is there any part of this movie that you have any salt for?
Just Theoden kind of being a piece of shit. That kind of irritated me this time around. I never really noticed it before, but he literally has to be dragged kicking and screaming to go do what needs to be done most of this movie. And I'm just like, bro,
He was demon possessed.
Yeah, but
for who knows how long.
Yeah, but he's over that now. He's like, if you touch your old sword.
It was yesterday.
It was fine.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. No, I don't have any salt.
Yeah, no, that made sense to me. I felt like it was realistic for somebody to be awakened and not even, you didn't even, while he was demon possessed, they were like, hey, your son died.
Oh, yeah.
But it's Saruman. He
Yeah.
doesn't get it. He thought he was in a dream, and then he wakes up and he realizes his nightmares were the things that were actually happening.
Yeah.
And now there's war coming. And I can totally relate to being like, I just have to protect everyone because I cannot handle any more death on my watch.
These are the only movies ever made in the existence of mankind that I say every time they add more to it, I like it more.
That's true.
The 3-hour cut, too short.
We're going to go for the 5-hour one.
I want the 5-hour cut. Yeah. And that's a really strange thing for me to say because I really don't like long movies. But the longer these movies get, the more I like them. Mm-hmm. And it's just the way it is.
They shot 20 hours worth of footage for Helms Deep.
Awesome.
Just the battle itself.
Put it in. Put it all in.
My vagina.
25-hour long video. Yeah. I'm in. Let's do final thoughts. Favorite moments. Do you have an absolute favorite moment?
Oh, man. I mean,
there's a lot to pick from.
Not really.
Give a top 3.
I can't. I just love these movies. I don't know. My least favorite part is the Hobbit shit. Just
Merry and Pippin? Or no, Sam and Frodo.
Yeah. And I don't know. The Helms Deep stuff is awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's the highlight of this movie. It really is the battle for Helms Deep.
Okay.
So yeah.
You have a rating? Is it 5 stars?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, all these movies are 5 stars for me.
Yeah. All right.
There's no disputing that. So
agreed. Jude, favorite moments, top 3 if you have them.
Okay, so Gollum. The everything with Éomer. I love his character, not just because Karl Urban is the hottest human being that was ever formed, but I love his character coming in and being like, "Hey, shit's fucked up," and then Grima being like, "You see too much, I gotta banish you," but him still being like, "I still like." Theoden doesn't recognize me, but I am still Theoden's man. And then coming in the end with Gandalf, and Gandalf flashing the orcs with his bright white light, and just going in and it's so good. I love this movie. So Gollum, Éomer, and I had a third one.
Liv Tyler?
No, fuck that bitch. Just kidding. I love her too. No, but shit. I'll remember it when we're done. But yeah, I think it is. Yeah, this is 5 stars. This is 5 Carl Urbans.
Okay.
I really kind of fascinated by Jude's Carl Urban thing because he's barely in this thing.
I know.
He's in it for like 3 fucking minutes.
Not for me.
While everything else is happening, she's thinking about what he's doing off screen.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is there's a scene where, like, you know, Gandalf says, like, you know, the battle for Helms Deep is over, the battle for Middle Earth has begun, and there's a Rohan rider to like his right or something like that, and that was Carl Urban's stand-in, and they had meant to kind of CGI Carl Urban's face in there because they wanted that character in that shot because all the big characters are in that shot, and they just kind of forgot about it.
They just kind of forgot.
Yeah, so it's just this random like Rohan warrior in the background of that shot.
He's got the same hair. You assume.
The Riders of Rohan. So dope. All right, Kadish, top 3 if you have them, and give it a rating.
Top 3 is the scene where Viggo Mortensen breaks his toes. That's the first one. The second one is probably the battle for Helm's Deep. Just love that. And then the final one is when Gandalf appears on Shadowfax at the top of that hill and leads the charge down to flank the orcs and stuff like that. I just pretty much everything about Helm's Deep I really loved.
I remember my third.
What's your
the
third?
Ents. I love the Ents.
Yeah. Okay.
Please continue, Kadish. I'm sorry.
So this is my favorite of the trilogy. Absolutely love this movie. Give it totally 5 stars. Like this is
5 Carl Urbans.
Yeah. This is a 5-star movie for sure, and can't say enough good things about it. So it's hard to believe that it's been 20 years since it came out.
Doesn't feel like it.
And the CGI all holds up really well.
Yep.
Yeah, most of it.
There's a couple of scenes with like the 10,000 army strong zoom overs with the tower in the background that look a little.
It's a little janky.
Yeah, but the rest of it holds up.
Well, I can remember they actually created a software program called Massive to get to kind of replicate all like the armies that they needed for like those big sweeping shots. And this was like one of the first movies to actually have those like CGI Vista shots where like, you know, they're zooming around the towers and stuff like that. And now it's almost like old hat because like, you know, like this movie pioneered.
Well, everybody copies that now.
Yeah.
Like if you have an army, we're going to do this thing with the sweep over.
I don't expect this movie to not. I expect this movie to have some spots that we're gonna go. It didn't hold up great, but it still looks pretty good.
But
and it's getting there. I mean, but it's 20 years later.
I do agree with Vader though. Like this is one of the rare instances where the more stuff you add to it, the better it gets. Like I want to watch this like 5 hours.
Oh, it's fucking. It's rad.
Yeah. I was watching it with him, and I'm like,
I mean, they insert like a 10-minute long scene at the end of the movie where Merry and Pippin just find a fucking
bag of weed.
A closet.
That's right.
With a bunch of shit in it.
Yeah, they go and
It's awesome.
they find Isengard's like pantry, and they raid it, and then they
Like,
find a big bucket of weed.
2 of them.
I love Merry and Pippin.
And they're like, "Oh, look at this!"
It's like, oh, well, do we want to share it with Treebeard? And they're like, no.
Which
this might
actually
be like him smoking his cousin or something.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I think it could have easily, like, having these side characters, these side Hobbit storylines, could have easily been another boring Hobbit storyline. And Vader's right. Like, a lot of the stuff between Sam and Frodo, it's not very interesting or exciting. The exciting stuff that happens along their journey is because of Gollum. But and this other Hobbit storyline could easily be very boring just like that. But Merry and Pippin are so fun to watch. It doesn't even matter what they're doing. They could be raiding a pantry. And you're like, you're rooting for them.
They're the comic relief.
They're literally sitting in a treehouse this whole movie, and you're rooting for them.
This movie this isn't Frodo and Sam's movie.
No,
they're like the C plot.
Yeah.
In this movie, for real. And
this is Aragorn's movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that for sure.
It's just the way it is. It's a middle movie. In the next one, we get more of them walking through Mordor. But it gets a little more interesting because you get Shelob and they get captured by the orcs. But it's better.
We should also point out that this is the movie that created they're taking the hobbits to Isengard meme.
Yeah.
With Orlando Bloom's like 2-second line on there. Like they've turned that into like a full music video and all
Really?
types of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not aware of this.
I have a question. What did you think of the transition from possessed Theoden to new Theoden?
That was one of my top moments.
Okay.
So I've my top 3. This is one, Theoden, de-aging Theoden.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
Awesome. It's like his hair recedes back and it goes back to like a blonder color.
Yeah.
And his face gets less wrinkly. I'm like, that's freaking cool. I don't know how to do
He
it.
looks like a crone
Oh yeah, he's
at the beginning of this movie.
Well,
and then as soon
he
as the
is.
demon is expelled,
Yeah.
a handsome guy.
Yeah. Cool king. Let's see. My next
Cool king.
Theoden. He's kind of, I don't know, man. I
Well,
was
he's
really
not really a demon. He's possessed by
Saruman.
Saruman. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm calling it a Saruman
Okay.
demon possession.
Demon possession.
All right, I get it.
Shit. What was the next part? So Helms Deep is definitely top tier stuff. The beginning line, so it begins, like that's iconic at this point for me. Don't toss, toss me over there. We could go take them.
Don't tell the elf.
Yeah, don't tell the elf. And then them competing with each other, and he's up on top of the thing, like hacking them down 17, 18, and he's like knocking them off the building and shit. Love that stuff.
2 against a horde.
And he went berserker. Didn't he go berserker in this one scene where he wanted to go save Aragorn? And he's like, Aragorn! And he jumps off the freaking cliff, jumps into a whole crowd of them and starts taking
Lands in a
them down.
mud puddle.
Yeah. Lands in a mud puddle.
There's a great scene where they're fighting the wolf riders. I forget what they're called, but one of them falls on top of Gimli.
Yeah.
And then they keep killing these wolf riders and they keep falling on top of Gimli. So like he's just got like a stack of them on top of him.
But he's so strong. He's like bench pressing like 2 of them off of himself.
They're called
do that.
wargs.
Wargs?
The warg riders.
Oh, and my third favorite, I guess technically third favorite, is the reveal of the new and improved Nazgul on his little dragon friggin' thing. That shit was so creepy. When he's flying over the marshes and like Gollum's like freaking out, like Nazgul with wings, and you're like, what the fuck did he just say? And then like it pans up and you see the Nazgul, and all of a sudden it zooms away, and you're like, oh shit, he's got a dragon. Like that shit was so freaking cool.
It's a wyvern.
Love it. Wyvern?
Wyvern.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you know this shit.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad. It's cool.
What's your rating?
5.
5 what?
Nazgul. There's 9 of those. Never mind.
Are you
I don't know.
Are you gonna give it 5 Carl Urbans?
No, 5 golems.
It's fair.
5 golems out of 5.
I have an
5,
honorable.
my precious.
My precious.
I have an honorable mention that I just remembered.
Okay, go ahead.
That wink that Gandalf gives
Oh,
Aragorn.
yes.
That's my
Yeah.
honorable mention for my favorite
Pot an
moments.
old man from his walking stick.
Wink. Like, you get it? You see what I did there? And Aragorn's like, I saw it.
Oh, it's so funny. All right. Well, that's it for our retrospective look at the Two Towers. Tune in next year where we cover The Return of the King. I'm going to watch that 5-hour version like tomorrow.
Start today.
That sounds amazing.
Maybe you'll have it finished.
Yeah. I might have to watch all of the.
Yeah,
is the first one extended too?
I don't know.
I need to look into this. I never knew about these like super
I
duper
didn't
extended
either till
versions.
We were watching this, and I'm like, I don't remember that in the original movie. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't remember that in the extended cut either. Well, this is brand new.
Yeah.
What?
It was like watching it for the first time. I was like, what
happening?
is going on right now? Merry and Pippin found weed in Isgard? What?
I'm very curious. I might have to do that. I can't watch it in one sitting though.
Yeah, check out the
I'll spread it out over a couple of days.
the added Faramir and Boromir stuff.
I definitely need to check that out.
It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. V, where can they find you on the socials?
Oh, you can find me at Matt Vader 74 on the socials and Twitters and the things. Yeah, annoying people and pissing people off.
Pushing buttons every day.
Pushing buttons. All right.
Yeah.
Jude.
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on the socials, and check out our Facebook group at saltynerdgroup.com.
All right. Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish, on Twitter and Truth Social. And if you're on an Apple device, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Little help goes a long way. We need to get 200 of those suckers in order to get officially accredited as movie reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes. So if you have an Apple device, hop on over there. It takes you 2 seconds. Just give us a 5-star rating, and we would really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this review, and happy birthday to the Two Towers, I guess, technically. Happy 20th birthday.
Anniversary,
Awesome.
birthday, whatever.
It's the same thing. It was birthed. This movie was birthed. All right, that's it for the video. Thanks, guys. Stay salty.